All right, joining us for today's roundtable, Chelsi Henry, attorney and chair of the Republican Diversity Coalition. Also with us, Rick Ungar, host of Steele Ungar on SiriusXM. Guys, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
All right, certainly a tough situation. The issue of PTSD is devastating to our vets and their families, but Palin seemed to connect her son's arrest with President Obama's treatment of veterans. Rick, do you see anything wrong with this?
You know, it's amazing. It's probably the one subject where Sarah Palin and I could probably agree. I spent a lot of time on VA issues. I can't stand the way our veterans are treated. I'm doing a special in the next week about how nothing has really improved. It's a terrible situation, but only she could take something like that and blame it on President Obama that her son beat up his girlfriend last night. That was unnecessary. Her son may have issues. I've actually taken some time since I watched the speech today to research it. I can find nothing that suggests that her son has had trouble with the VA, trouble getting into the VA, trouble getting help from the VA, and I suspect he hasn't. But for her to, one, blame it on that, and two, blame it on the president, enough.
All right, well, Chelsi, you know, she's obviously been through a lot. You know, I can only imagine what it's like to have this going on in her family. She's not her son. She was not the one arrested. Should we not be cutting her a little bit of slack?
No, we should not, because she made the comparison. She made the analogy. Should there be more monies and more attention spent to the VA? Absolutely. I mean, you all know my brother's a Marine. He's in the Marines. He went overseas, and he's back now from deployment. And so I understand some of the issues that come up when people come back, when these veterans come back after having served. But let's be real here. We're talking about Sarah Palin. She has guts to get up and endorse another presidential candidate. Yet what about those strings and all this popularity? I think Rick makes a good point. Has he had issues with the VA? Or is it a fact that, you know, Sarah Palin can be doing more as a mother for her son?
Well, we can talk about whether or not it was fair for her to blame the president for this, but we don't know what's going on with her son. I mean, I understand, Rick, that you probably did intense research on this, but as you probably know, Chelsi, a lot of these soldiers, Marines, whatever it may be, they don't even know that they're suffering from PTSD.
And
they are embarrassed to go and get help in a lot of cases. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. You know, it's something new, especially for those who went over and came back for the first time. But the crux of this conversation is about whether she should be placing all of the blame on the president. And, you know, listen, has he done everything right? But I think there still is a point where she can take some responsibility, where she can acknowledge that there are issues and that she plans to be there for her son. I mean, I didn't hear that in the speech, but I did hear all this blame.
And you didn't see her going home last night after it happened. She was still, her son got arrested yesterday for having this terrible thing happen. Part of it was he threatened to kill himself. Did she go home?
Yeah,
was she back in Alaska today? Yeah. No, she wasn't.
Like a lot of folks.
I don't like to sit in judgment of other people, but Chelsi got it exactly right. And by the way, she told us that her son has PTSD. So how can you say that nobody knows if he has it?
Yeah. Well, because it wasn't really
I'll be there to help this guy all the way if he has that problem. But what she did was so reprehensible.
Well, I think it's a problem to blame either party for this.
I was watching the
speech
today.
This has been going on for a long time with the VA.
And thinking about what an amazing a human moment for Sarah Palin, and then all of a sudden she makes that turn to blame the president, and I just kind of I winced a little bit, you know, and it's unfortunate.
And John, didn't you wonder why she was there?
Did I wonder why she was?
Why she was there and not with her son? Is that what you mean, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, God forbid something like that were to happen to one of my kids. Donald Trump would have to get in line.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, maybe it's time that she gets off the campaign trail and heads back to Alaska and deals with her family issues. I mean, you know, again, you look at this from a very cold, calculated perspective. This is a distraction, to say the very least, for the Trump campaign. Is certainly not what they wanted, and it doesn't help that.
And she wants to tell us she's all about family values.
No, that's true. But we'll see what happens with this. This was kind of broke a little bit late this afternoon. You know, all the Sarah Palin supporters will get on the mainstream media for teaming up on her, but I think there are a lot of issues to explore here with this particular case.
And we still have more issues to talk about. So Rick and Chelsi, stand by, because there's still more to come. We're going to talk about this controversy that's been brewing over the Oscars, including what Donald Trump had to say about it. Also, what in the world is going on with the stock market and oil prices? It might feel pretty good to fill up at the pump right now, but enjoy that feeling while it lasts. Things could get turbulent with our economy. Commodity expert Steven Ungar will join us to explain. Plus, we want to know what you're doing to prepare for this big monster snowstorm that could affect 50 million people on the East Coast this weekend. Tweet us at Newsmax Now or leave us a comment on our Facebook page. We'll be right back.
Some controversy brewing over this year's Oscar nominees. All 20, the lead and supporting actor and actress nominees at this year's Oscars are white. Spike Lee is not one of them for the second straight year. The nominees, that's what I'm talking about. Spike Lee and actress Jada Pinkett Smith said on Monday they're planning to maybe boycott. Spike Lee says not so much a boycott, just skipping it. Donald Trump was asked today about the boycott, and he says, you know what? They got the BET Awards. Maybe they shouldn't have that. Welcome back to the round table today. With us again, Steele Ungar and Chelsi Henry. Thanks for sticking around, folks. I want to take a quick listen to something actress Stacey Dash said on Fox and Friends this morning.
I think it's ludicrous.
Why?
Because we have to make up our minds. Either we want to have segregation or integration. And if we don't want segregation, then we need to get rid of channels like BET and the BET Awards and the Image Awards, where you're only awarded if you're black. If it were the other way around, we would be up in arms. It's a double standard.
So you say there shouldn't be a BET channel?
No, I don't think so, no. Just like there shouldn't be a Black History Month. You know, we're Americans, period. That's it.
Chelsi, when you heard about that, what was your reaction?
I chuckled like I just did. First off, yes, there needs to be a Black History Month. It's unfortunate that Black History Month is only 28 days out of the year because it's a month where we celebrate. There's months dedicated throughout the year to different causes. And so let's celebrate the contributions that African Americans had. In terms of her comments, Stacey Dash's comments about BET, I think the comparison that she's trying to draw, it has many flaws in it. Because when you think about the Oscars, when you think about who they represent those who are in films across America. Black entertainment television is just that. But there's also Univision for those who are Hispanic. There's also a women's channel. They're different groups, but just to say that there's a particular channel for a specific group means that there shouldn't be diversity in something that represents the entire country. I disagree. For those who are boycotting, I think they have that right. But I think Whoopi Goldberg, made a good point. Right. We have Chris Rock, who's hosting it this year. Let's be there and support him, and let's be a part of the diversification of the Oscars.
Well, you brought up chuckling. Rick, you were doing that. And you also brought up Chris Rock. Some are asking him to step down as the host of the Oscars. Rick, how likely do you think that will happen, and would it accomplish anything if he did?
Well, I certainly hope it won't happen. I'm looking forward to him hosting the Oscars. What I just heard, I could not possibly say it better. What Stacey Dash apparently doesn't understand, that you can be integrated and still appreciate and enjoy diversity and different cultures. That's not segregation, that's respect. So she needs to learn a little something about the difference between integration and segregation. Maybe she's too young to remember it. What's happening is really tricky with this whole Academy Award thing because it's not about your color, it's about who does the best performance. And who is to say who a voter thinks gave the best performance? It's difficult. Now, you look at a situation like the movie about Compton, about NWA. The reality is, I went to see it. I thought it was awesome. But the older voters, I know I'm one of them, aren't going to relate to that. They're not going to relate to that. And so it can't shock you that movie wouldn't get as many votes as you might expect if you saw it, because it really was a well-done picture. It's a very tricky problem. Boycotting is definitely not the answer.
And it does seem like nowadays, when you look at the movies that get nominated for these awards, that is almost the intention of making them from the onset, that they make the movie, it's about some very dramatic situation, and it's almost like they're pandering to the Oscar audience. I don't
know if it's necessarily the Oscars or Hollywood itself not creating enough roles or diversifying the roles.
Well, there's also a problem. There's a problem that you have to recognize, and having come from that industry, as unfortunate as this may be, it's much more difficult to sell movies overseas with a black lead character. There's very few. Will Smith sells overseas, but there's very few. It's something Hollywood has struggled with. We don't want to see that being the case. I sure as heck don't. Some of my favorite actors would certainly fit that category, but it is a reality, and when it comes to financing a picture, it figures into the equation.
Chelsi, last word to you.
I hope everyone watches the Oscars this year. And for those who want to boycott, that's great. I hope everyone else will, again, be a part of the diversification. And as Rick just mentioned, there's some issues that exist in Hollywood, but we don't change that by just boycotting one show. It comes from action and being a part of the process.
Yeah, we're coming off Martin Luther King holiday. It doesn't seem like he would shy away from going to the Oscars. He would be there. Of course, what do I know? But he would probably be there to make a point if this was really a big issue. You know? Well, Rick and Chelsi, great talk today. Really enjoyed that, you two.
Thanks for having us.
All right, more to come here on Newsmax now. We're going to take a look at spending less at the pump. Sure, it feels pretty good right now, but is the other shoe about to drop? The issue with oil prices, why it is dragging down your 401k, your IRA, and why this problem might not be going away anytime soon. We're here, and the snow is already starting to fall in some parts of the country. Take a look. It's President Obama getting off Air Force One in Detroit today. Now, this same storm system, and one's like it moving across the country, stretching from the south all the way up to the northeast, going to cause major havoc. Are you ready? Reach out to us. Tweet us at newsmaxnow.com.